window there. We started Wednesday night in Seattle, the night after the election, on a 21-city road show around the United States. And the point of that road show is to spark, and you guys are a big part of this, the next phase of the environmental movement, which is all about taking on that industry directly. I wrote a piece this summer for Rolling Stone, which went oddly, unexpectedly viral, okay? It was in the issue with Justin Bieber on the cover. But the curious thing was, the editor called me up a couple of days later and said, something odd is going on because your piece has 10 times as many likes on Facebook as Justin's, you know? I'd like to think it has to do with my adorable smile, but I think it's more the fact that it laid out for the first time what we really know now about the math of climate change. 3 numbers, if you get them in your head, you understand exactly where we are. First number, 2 degrees. The one thing the world has agreed on, even at that failed Copenhagen conference, the only thing that they've ever agreed on about climate change is 2 degrees is the red line. We promise we won't go past there. They haven't said how they'll promise. They haven't put any timetables or penalty, but that's the one thing they've said. Second number, the world scientists tell us how much carbon we can still put in the atmosphere and have any hope of staying below 2 degrees. 565 gigatons of carbon. 565 billion tons. At the rate that we're producing carbon at the moment, burning coal and oil and gas, that'll take us 15 years, okay? So we're pretty close. But that's not the scary number. The scary number is the third number. Last year, a team of financial analysts did the work of adding up how much carbon the coal and oil and gas industries had in their reserves all around the world. And that number is 2,795 gigatons. 5 times as much as the most conservative governments on Earth say is safe to burn. But it will be burned unless we intervene. That coal and oil and gas is still under the ground, but economically it's pretty much above the ground. That's what their share price is based on. That's what they borrow money against. They will burn it. And in fact, they spend, Exxon alone spends $100 million every day looking for more oil and gas to burn, okay? Think for a minute just in the back of your mind how many solar panels we could put up in this country for $100 million a day, every day, day in, day out. Now, the point of those numbers is, we need to start thinking of the fossil fuel industry in the same way that we learned to think of the tobacco industry. It is a rogue industry. It is an outlaw industry. Not outlaw against the laws of the state, they write those, but it is an outlaw industry against the laws of physics. All right? And that means that we have to take them on, and we have several ways of doing that. We need you all to go to 350.org, to the website, and make sure that we have your name. In fact, if you, well, I'm not gonna bother to try to figure out how to get you all to text your information to 350. I'm beyond my technological abilities. I'm too old. But if you go to the website, I'm counting on you to do it because we need this army to really start a rise. First goal is to get institutions, colleges, universities, churches, whatever else, to divest their holdings in fossil fuel industry. It is not okay. 25 years ago, it was not okay if you were at a college to be profiting from investments in businesses that were involved in apartheid South Africa. And so people all over this country rose up. And when Nelson Mandela got out of prison, the first place he came was San Francisco, California, to thank the people, the students at the University of California who had forced the trustees to divest $3 billion worth of stock, okay? Desmond Tutu, the other great hero of that struggle, made a video that we're showing every night as we do this roadshow, in which he says, this is the next great moral issue, and we got to do the same thing. So those of you who are, is there anybody here who's in college at the moment? Make a little noise. Is there anybody else here who went to college at some point in their lives? Together, you guys are going to figure that out. And in your churches and whatever else. That's not the only thing that we're going to do. We're going to need your help in other ways too. We've marched a lot on Washington over the years, okay? But we have to march some other places. Are there people here who will join us come shareholder meeting season in the spring? Who will march on San Ramon, where Chevron has its headquarters? Who will march on Dallas, where Exxon has its headquarters? We're going to need you. We're really going to need you.
Shut him down.
Let me tell you as I finish, because I've got to get on the bus and we're headed on to Southern California, but I want to tell you just a couple of stories about those arrests last year in Washington, D.C., because they make 2 points that I want to get across. Let me first just show you a few more pictures from this big day of action we did this spring called Connect the Dots, that was all about the places already around the world that are already feeling the sting of climate change, okay? And they are absolutely everywhere. Underwater demonstrations on the melting coral reefs in the Pacific. You know the ocean is 30% more acid, right, as it absorbs carbon. And in the river in Kabul, which is drying up and drying up fast, and in drought-stricken parts of the world, in places where their problems were maybe a little less acute, you know, in the wildfire zone in Siberia, in the places in the Pacific where the water is rising up over the beaches. That top red balloon there, that's where the water level was in the Dead Sea 40 years ago, okay? That's the kind of thing that's happening on this planet. That picture came from India, and all it had with it was a little note that just said, there is no water behind our dam anymore. Those kind of images, I mean, that's from the part of Pakistan where 20 million people were dislocated in flooding in September 2010, okay? That's from Vermont, my home state, which took it on the chin when Hurricane Irene came through last fall, okay? The pictures are so powerful, so painful to look at. That's from Haiti. From Haiti, where as many people died in Hurricane Sandy as died in America, where there's now a full-on cholera outbreak going. I know most of you cannot see it, but the little signs that they're holding there in that dirty, swollen river, what they say are, your actions affect me, okay? And they do. And it does not work the other way around. There's nothing anybody in Haiti can do to solve this problem. They can't stop burning fossil fuels because they're not burning any to start with, okay? They don't have the headquarters of the biggest fossil fuel companies near to hand. That's us. We're the ones in the world's sole superpower. We can make some difference. When we went to Washington, I'm looking at the demographic makeup of this crowd, one of the things we said was, when we were asking people to get arrested, young people should not have to be the only ones who come, okay? If you're 22 right now, young people are leading this fight and they've been the bravest all along. But if you're 22, getting arrested comes with a certain cost maybe on your resume. One of the few good things about growing older is, past a certain point, what the hell are they going to do to you? And so it was really good to see who showed up to get arrested. We did not ask people, how old are you, because that would be rude, but cleverly we said, who was president when you were born, okay? And the two biggest groups had been born in the FDR and the Truman administrations. On the last day, there was a guy arrested with a sign around his neck and it said, World War II vet, handle with care, okay? He'd been born in the Warren Harding administration, which was so long ago I'd really forgotten there was a Warren Harding administration, okay? The second thing, the last thing I want to just leave in your mind is, we asked people if they were coming, would you please put on a necktie or wear a dress, okay? I mean, I live in Vermont. Vermont makes San Francisco look formal by comparison, okay? I'm not really big on neckties, but we wanted to make an important visual point, and that point is that there is nothing radical at all about what I've been talking about today. There's nothing radical about anything that we're asking for. We are asking for a world that works a little bit like the one that we were born into. And that's not a radical demand. If anything, that's a conservative request, you know? Radicals work at oil companies. If you are willing to get up and amass a huge fortune by altering the chemical composition of the atmosphere, then you are engaged in the most radical acts that any human beings have ever been engaged in. And we have absolutely got to stop them from doing that. We have to do it peacefully and non-violently and firmly. And we have to do it fast, and we have to do it together. I do not know for sure that we can win this fight, because the science is rough and because the other side has all the money. But I do know from going all over the world that it is going to be a fight, that there are lots of people ready to go. And it is always a huge honor to be with those people in all those places, but it is an enormous honor to be right here with you guys, because I know how much work you already have done, and I know how much more you're going to do. I'm not certain we're going to win, but I look around right now and I kind of like our odds. Thank you guys so much. So much. And we need you at 350.org. You sign up today.